today, and you're here to talk about kind of the evolution of marketing and sort of where we're heading, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you started your recruitment marketing career in 2005, did you say?
Correct.
So what's different today than back then?
Oh, wow. So I started my marketing career in 2001 and recruitment marketing, like you say, in 2005. And this is pre-Facebook. So if you think there wasn't really social media, the recruitment consultants would have Rolodex on their desks. They'd have, their massive, even some of the consultants didn't have flat screen monitors, which is ridiculous. And they'd have the yellow pages, and that would be their Bible to be able to basically build up their desk.
This is the time of faxing CVs and faxing timesheets and all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly that. And over a decade that I worked with Meridian Business Support, I started in 2005, founded the marketing team, of which there was me for a year, working with a lovely chap in the IT team whose life I made a misery for a long time, just trying to sort out newsletters and God knows what. And create a function that was organized, and we had consistent delivery. We worked with an external marketing consultant. They created a strategic marketing plan that was 150 pages long. And I remember thinking...
Very strategic.
Yeah, I just thought, this is a nonsense, but I'm not in a position to kick back and say this is actually the wrong thing to do. So, a hell of a lot of learning over a decade.
I think back then, though, that it's like kind of substance was the quality, right? That if you were paying for an outsourced service, you expected war and peace.
Yeah.
Because consumer behaviour has changed so much in terms of how we make decisions nowadays, and we don't want somebody dropping off a 150-page document of our marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Because that's what we pay for, i.e. efficiency. But I suppose, do you think there was an element of they didn't really know what they needed? They know they needed something called marketing, and then they've gone, oh, Joe, you can come and do this, and we don't know. Here you go, and off you go.
Yeah, they did. I think it's a really good point. They did need all of that, and even now, I think there's such a misconception of an internal marketing team or person can do all of that, and they pay a fiver for it, and you're expected to income generate and make a company 5 million quid from that fiver. So I think there's an absolute disparity between the perception and reality of what marketing is now. I think it's got much more sophisticated, much more valued. But even now, daily, a marketer justifies their existence, which is incredibly frustrating after working in it for over 2 decades.
Do you think that's the case across the board in most industries, or do you think that's recruitment industry specific?
I think it's not specific to the recruitment space. However, I think there's much more of an appetite and an appreciation to test new things in other sectors. The one major flaw with the sector, in my view, is a lack of investment and a lack of understanding of what marketing can do for a business if you allocate budget. And often what I've seen, some of our clients have us sanity check their budgets. We even set budgets for clients. But what we end up doing is re-engineering what exists already, because what we identify actually is the budget is a fiver because job boards are putting to marketing budget and the cost of the website and. So actually for really trailblazing marketing strategy or techniques and testing things, there's just nothing available for it.
What do you think that's down to, though? I have a viewpoint on it based on conversations that I've had with recruitment business owners who are not bought into the whole concept behind kind of marketing. But why do you think that's the case, that there's not much budget put towards it?
Because every business owner or there's always someone in a business that thinks they are the marketer. And actually marketing is both an art and a science. So my degree is a Bachelor of Science. So actually, if you think of it like that way, marketing was always deemed the colouring in department. So why is there a BSc in marketing? Yeah. It's much more
Should be a BA
academic.
in theory, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I think people read blogs on SEO, or they'll read blogs on content creation or strategy, and everyone thinks they can handle it and do it themselves. So it ends up being a bit of a battle of not
There are a
offending
lot
people.
of people who prey on like kind of consumer ignorance though as well, right? Within the marketing world, like you see a lot of people who claim to be SEO experts and specialists, and then you go through their site and you're just like, really? You have the nerve to charge people for SEO
Great
when
point.
your site, it looks in the state that it does.
Yeah.
And then I think because there's that much, well, it's the same thing as the recruitment industry, right? You can have a room full of 100 different recruitment agencies, and 5 or 6 maybe dreadful, awful malpractice agencies, but everybody gets tarred with the same brush, because even then the ones that are doing it really well are considered in the same group of people as those. So do you understand then the kind of the reservation from someone who's like, look, you guys say SEO, PPC, and then we kind of like shit ourselves and like, well, I know what that is, and so okay, fine, here, I'll give you the contract.
I would say there's the same argument really for using recruitment businesses, for internal talent teams and fueling the team. You know, do your due diligence. Look at if something doesn't smell right, it won't be right. What fascinates me as well is the amount of companies, recruitment marketing businesses that are founded by recruitment consultants or ex-recruitment consultants. And for me, I'm not saying you can't have a career change or anything like that, but I would question the foundation of that.
Do you want to go on record and name anyone?
No. Probably not.
Don't do it.
I know. I'll probably be sued. We'll spend our money on other things. I can understand the reticence, but I don't think that's justification for not investing in a marketing function.
No, true.
Or an agency to amplify what you're doing internally with marketing, and that's our sweet spot. We love to mentor internal marketers. My absolute passion is getting recruitment marketers on a board of directors, and I'm on my way with a couple of marketers that we've mentored probably for 5-6 years now.
Amazing.
That's really exciting for us.
Yeah, that's big, right? Because I mean I'm sales through and through historically from kind of all the jobs that I've done, right? And whether it's fintech, whether it's kind of financial services, banking, and then into recruitment. And marketing was just never considered a strategy like kind of division at all, right? The kind of department, like you said. And I've seen the evolution of it, which has been great to see. But I think there is a lot of people who are still kind of non-believers. How long do you think this journey is before people finally accept that? No, because look, SaaS has accepted it, e-coms have accepted it. You know, any sort of online platform with a tech product based business have accepted that the answer isn't always I need 10 more salespeople, because that's 10 more people hitting the phones. They've looked at it and gone, actually, I can drive inbound as long as I'm positioned in the right places. You know, the 4 Ps, all the rest of it. When is the recruitment industry finally going to go, oh shit, we've been missing a trick here?
It's already happening. I'd say it's emergent. I would say it's unavoidable. And the most ambitious companies that have that absolute growth mindset, they're already embracing this as I think a client called us, they were a returning client, and they called us a necessary evil, which I thought was the most incredible compliment. You know, we will always be deemed an unnecessary expense or a luxury. You know what I mean?
It's a nice to have. Always a nice to have.
Exactly. And it used to make me hate sales people and teams, because I thought, you know, the deal gets over the line, but actually, and the number is attributed to that team, but all the legwork that goes into that and positioning the product, the price, the places that we sell it, all of that was the marketing department. But because little Jimmy was managed to sign that customer up that day, little Jimmy gets the high five and the bonus, and marketing was just told, can you go back and fill these things out and provide us a newsletter for tomorrow? You know? No, I agree. Let's talk about sales versus marketing for a minute then, because this was a real controversial topic with a couple of outsourced marketing people that we've had on.
and my former host and I fell out about this because he's sales through and through. It really triggered him, and it triggered a lot of salespeople as well, including weirdly Gary Goldsmith, which we won't go into. I think sales is now part of the marketing function. I don't believe that they're two separate functions, and I certainly don't believe that they are two competing functions anymore. I think marketing is the overall kind of revenue driving, optimizing kind of division, and sales is just a part of that. What's your thoughts on that?
My thought is, and from my experience, it's two sides of the coin. It has to have a mutual understanding and synergy between what each can contribute to create this whole. So in my view, one isn't weighted as more valuable than the other. I think it's a 50-50. If sales are shit at getting, am I allowed to swear?
You're allowed to swear.
If sales are shit at converting.
I'm just going to clip that bit though, sales are shit, and just going to keep playing that on loop.
If sales are shit at getting deals or leads over the line, then I would have a major issue with that, and have done in the past. Likewise, if marketing isn't doing their job and meeting the requirements of the sales team, the challenges occur when there's a lack of proactivity, when it's all reactive, when it's unplanned, when it's emergent. And we know the strategic drift that happens in recruitment businesses through survival mode. You know, and I get that, having ran a marketing team internally for a very successful business for a decade during I think 09-10 recession,
the big dip,
and the arse fell out of the market. We babysat bid management for 4 years, and what that meant to me was it gave me an incredible understanding of sales processes. It gave me an incredible understanding of the complexities of bid management and tender processes, and what that meant as a wider relationship between sales and marketing. And then I started to not get frustrated with sales. The numbers on their head, the number wasn't on the marketing team's head. So of course they would get frustrated and teach us or treat us, like a cost in the cost center in the P&L.
Right. Yeah. This comes down to the salesperson's kind of mentality that marketing a head office.
Yes.
Marketing,
back office function.
Your HQ, no different to HR. You guys don't know what it's like in the real world.
Exactly.
Foot soldiers, that kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
But things have changed massively now, right? Even from sort of the 2008-2009 kind of dip and recession to the incredibly difficult year that most businesses had last year. But I think the approach has been different, because there's a big thing. I mean, I'd love to know your thoughts on or your feelings on kind of recruiters who value and are trying to build this personal brand and the sort of concept and the ideology behind personal brand, because that's more marketing than sales, right? So how does a recruiter who is a salesperson by nature then understand the concepts, the ideology behind kind of branding and image and that kind of thing, and lead that into and sort of upskill themselves or make themselves more self-aware about that to be able to impact their sales?
Yeah.
You know, how does personal branding work in the right way?
I think it's one of the most intuitive, natural things to do, because most people I know, apart from my husband, weirdly, and my brother, are not on social media. So everyone is developing their personal brand daily. You know, this isn't a new concept. This is a 20-year-old concept now. What we find is that social media and the power of social media, it takes a while for people to get their head around. Actually, there's the principles of that and the methodology applies to you professionally as well. So then people will start getting more formulaic or start creating content that's more consistent, really talking to their audiences rather than just broadcasting messages that isn't seen as authentic.
No.
So I think personal brand is incredibly important. The challenge that I think most recruitment businesses have is, because in the past, my God, how things have changed over the last few years, really respecting and valuing those employees as not a commodity and a valuable asset, but actually as human beings. the challenge is that there's been a lack of respect for employers, and actually a lot of embarrassment that the recruitment consultant would have to even share anything that the company would be producing, because why would they want to put their personal name to it, even though on LinkedIn they are employed by this company.
What's your view then? So recruitment consultants, should they be echoing the company's wording and kind of branding and the sort of the language and tone that the company want to use, or really should they be this is who I am, you're dealing with me, not the business that I happen to work for? What's your view on that? Because I know historically that it was always no, you don't put your own personality on these posts. You share what, I mean, I'm ex-Michael Page, so it was no, you don't use the language that you want to use. You damn sure don't put funny memes on, no matter how funny you think they are. It's this or nothing. Yeah,
I think there has to be broad guidelines without, it can't be just carte blanche, talk about anything and, political or your, views on anything controversial that could bring the company into disrepute or whatever. But there's two streams in my view. The first one is if the recruitment consultant or the employee shares company content, it's more likely to amplify that brand 8 times what it would for content to just be shared on company LinkedIn pages or whatever. And I'm sure that stat is increased. But if the recruitment consultant or the person who is employed feels as though they are they're having to go down a certain path or talk about certain things that they don't believe in, it's not ever going to build their brand, because they're, again, not being authentic.
It's disingenuous.
So I would say absolutely, companies need to embrace that, and people need to not be afraid. People are still really frightened of putting anything out there or writing a blog or a social post for fear of being made a fool of or whatever, but they write 3 billion emails a day. And so why is the fear on these, social channels and not on email? So I would say it is a part of brand building, and not just personal brand building, but for the company as well.
That social anxiety of posting is really prevalent because there's a lot of lurkers on LinkedIn, right? I would argue that most of my business over the last sort of 3 years has come from lurkers than it has from actually people who engage on my posts. Yet for some reason we still kind of value the vanity metrics instead, right? Certainly the sort of the Gen Z in the workforce at the minute, I had a couple working for me who would put out a poll or put out a post, and if within the hour it hadn't done respectable numbers, they'd just take it down because they're I don't want it. I don't want that going out there and people looking at me going, "Oh, you only got 2 likes," and it's like, I don't get that concept. How does that relay in your world? Are you getting that from business owners? Are they sitting there asking you for, like, I want this to go viral? Or like, you must get sort of these sorts of stupid requests. And how do you deal with that and educate your customer base?
It's a great question. I think it's we're bored of hearing the same thing. If a TikTok video is produced, then that will go viral and make everyone famous and all the rest of it. Building a brand takes a very long time, and I think in a lot of cases those vanity metrics that you mentioned are an absolute nonsense. And I think all of those metrics, likes, love, support on LinkedIn, all of it should be removed, because it's a broadcast tool. So we're broadcasting information, we're sharing advice, supporting each other. It should be a collaborative, neutral.
But does that not turn it just into an advertising board?
Not necessarily. I see it as more of an information sharing channel, which I'd rather than it turning into...
I'd love to see your LinkedIn feed. Mine is just full of buy my shit. Hi, here's a picture of my dog, buy my shit. That's all I see on LinkedIn these days. So that's why I say, would that not just turn it into just a constant stream of advertisements?
I don't think so, and it depends on how, I guess, how strict you are with who you connect to. You know, my connections are people who I do know, I have had a relationship with, or I rate them as professionals. So, and I've been really over, 20 years, I've been really strict on how I've grown that.
Yeah,
Um, because I'm very much into that myself, just sharing, in my view, what the next thing is, you know, what we're working on. So it's meaningful, so it's worth looking at.
yeah,
And also what we do with clients is we do a lot of social selling workshops and educating internal teams on those vanity metrics actually are not a good rule of thumb in terms of what success looks like, because you have to link that to your GA4 analytics if you're posting and the interactions are low, which the client in the past would deem a success measure. Actually, the intent signals are with what's happening, are shown with what's happening on the website. So
Yeah.
you're seeing that your visits are higher, time on site is higher, or longer. And just making sure that we call it dark social. So it might be my audiences are more business leaders and
Yeah.
directors and owners. They wouldn't ever comment on my blog, or they won't be sharing it. They'll be sharing it offline. They'll be sharing it on Slack or WhatsApp or email to someone. So again, the metrics of success, if that's what we're looking at, would be the website or the destination of that blog.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Because you're really into that kind of tech part and the sort of the data element, right? And we were speaking off camera about kind of your understanding and involvement of AI. Let's dive into that a little bit, because I'm keen to understand about the stuff that you've been doing and how you guys are planning on kind of leveraging that in the right way. Because I know that there are recruitment marketing businesses out there who are going down the route of kind of positioning themselves as, we are all 100% authentic, nothing is AI generated, and that's their USP that they're running after. I'd love to get your thoughts on that and kind of what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so I've been banging on about it probably for about 8 months now, because we were challenged by a client based in the Netherlands to say, look, we'd like double the content, half the price, and let's crack on. Well, actually, that isn't going to happen, because we want to look at this ethically. We want to make sure there's good governance and that there are rules in place. And this was before the Bletchley Declaration. It was before Rishi Sunak had that global conference, which I was really pleased that we are leading on that. But that was just a kind of vanity project for him.
Yeah.
But what it meant was I made a business decision as the leader of Marmalade Marketing to say, actually, I need to educate myself on what the risk factors are here. I need a risk register. I need to look at protecting jobs. I need to, really look at embracing the knowledge of this to enable me to make a decision in terms of which pathway we would go down. So I completed an AI program. And what that did was challenge me to create a new workflow, an AI integrated workflow with content creation, and how, I'm not going to give it all away of how we're doing that, but it's a really slick trial and error process that we've actually now got an AI content strategist, a senior content writer who is embracing the technology and the tools to lead us through that next phase in our growth. So we've put our money where our mouth is with all of that.
What's your current customer base like, kind of feeling towards then you guys embracing AI?
Really excited about how we're leading this, and because we've done it properly. It's not based on machines replacing the human. Actually, it's human augmented content and marketing creation. So it's assisting the humans we have in the business to do a much better job, because we can improve efficiency and productivity, and especially for a lot of idea generation, and concept creation. but the final job and work is done by the human team. So we've actually weirdly employed someone else rather than lose someone. So
it's created an opportunity, which
precisely.
is probably a rare occurrence, I suppose, in that world.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your opinion on kind of how AI will shape recruitment as an industry, and then kind of your place within that world?
Yeah.
Because the reason I ask that is because the increase in consumer awareness around just buzzwords like SEO, PPC, Facebook, social media management, and all the rest of it has created a bunch of these kind of charlatan characters, right? Who will absolutely like sell you the dream and not deliver a single thing. You know, Google AdWords, I can look after that. They don't know the first thing about it. You know, all that sort of stuff. Surely AI in this recruitment marketing space is going to create even more of these con artists.
Yeah, they will, but I think in terms of the recruitment industry, I've never worked in an industry as tech enabled, and how the leaders of businesses really do embrace technology, which is fantastic. I think the user adoption is a major downfall of a lot of businesses, and we work on some really exciting projects with other consultants to sort that stuff out. But I think the place marketing sits really well is within that recruitment technology space. So we're HubSpot solutions partners. The amount of AI now inbuilt in technology like that, and also CRMs and other technology that will naturally embrace AI. So the consultants will just be using it as a natural progression. It won't be this massive bomb that goes off, and then it creates this break point where, you know, the industry goes off in one direction, the consultants are left kind of with this, you know, smoke around them, and they've got no idea which way to go. I really do feel for recruitment consultants, having worked a long time alongside them, in that they are supposed to now be legal experts and compliance experts and AI experts. It's just not the case. I think it's just part of their tech stack.
For those businesses who don't have an outsourced marketing function or even an in-house person, that's left to the consultants to do. Right, guys, I need you to come up with a TikTok. Guys, I need you to come up with some sort of content for your LinkedIn. I need you to post 5 times a week. You know, about what? I don't care. Just do it. Yeah. You know, I watched a video that told me that that's what you got to do. And
crazy.
Yeah. No, this is it. Okay. Fair. So you're quite optimistic about the AI kind of revolution that's happening based on sort of a very informed viewpoint on it.
Yeah.
Understanding. Right. Okay. So I've got a question for you around then sort of the progression of a senior marketing professional, right? So historically, and we've touched on this before on the podcast, historically, most CEOs in a business come through the sales director route or the CFO route, right? How far away do you think we are from a CMO taking the CEO seat?
Not too far.
Because it doesn't happen that often.
No.
Historically hasn't happened that often.
No, I don't think it's that far away, because marketing, as I mentioned earlier, it's the flip side of that coin. Sales and marketing are allies, I think, both complementing each other's function and achieving the business goals. Both are accountable and responsible for achieving those. Marketers now are much more adept at the financial metrics within what marketing return on investment looks like. Understanding the sources of success of how that business is generating cash, and being responsible for making sure that any value that sits within the business, whether that's their own data, client relationships, or whatever it may be, that all has equity. It all builds up to the value of this recruitment business. So it wouldn't surprise me if within the next 5 years we start seeing some appointments like that, especially because a lot of marketers I know now are, you know, not just invited to present at the board meeting, which was always an irritation, You're actually allowed to stay there for the whole meeting and,
Really?
and give them
No.
that place. I know. Like, wow, who knew?
Yeah, no, that's good. Okay. A question we get quite a lot from kind of recruitment consultants is sort of what there's a lot of interest and demand or desire, for them to understand marketing better. But it's such a big beast and they don't really know where to start and that kind of thing. If you could give them sort of 3 things to start with as a fundamental building blocks of, right, you want to understand this kind of whole concept of marketing and how you can leverage that in your sales process and routine and your job. Where would that be? Where do you think they should start?
Okay, so forget 150-page marketing strategy. I would say do not plan out marketing activity beyond a 90-day sprint. So what we do with any clients that we work with, their senior team takes new clients through what we call a 4D diagnostic, and that's looking at, okay, where are the business challenges? What is the pain? How can we really discover what the challenges are so we can create pathways of success?
Okay.
It's from that point that the 3 things would be chosen for that 90-day sprint. The first thing being making sure the website is up to date, because honestly, I still can't believe they are as neglected as they are.
Do you mean the entire website, the vacancies page? Because bear in mind, I'm talking about a recruitment consultant here who's sort of like working for somebody, right?
Yeah.
They can't really, short of going, gosh, you need to update the website. It still says that Joanne works here, and it still says that we look after accountancy and finance vacancies, and we pivoted from that years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think it's still relevant though, because 9 times out of 10, if that consultant is trying to sell based on what information is on that website, which is the window into the company, it's a much harder sell for that recruitment consultant to show, well, actually we are doing legal, but it doesn't say legal on the website. So making sure that what you represent on LinkedIn, for example, or an email is reflected on the website.
That continuity piece.
Precisely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think the second thing is leveraging tools that are available. So making sure that what you talked earlier about personal brand building, networking, podcasts, whatever it is, just start getting involved in what your audience wants to consume. It's not all about projecting out to that world. It's about really taking value from your own audiences. A lot of recruitment consultants would say that they talk the talk, but actually they don't do it very well. Okay. I'd say. The third thing, I would say making sure that they make a bit more effort to use their own voice, because a lot, like I mentioned earlier, if a recruitment consultant is sharing content on LinkedIn, for example, from the company's page, from their page, but from, sharing the company content, the amplification is 8 to 10-fold. So if they want to improve their exposure, it has to be a mutually beneficial relationship between the content from the corporate sites as well as independent.
Okay, no, that's fair enough.
That's all a bit boring. Sorry about that.
Yeah, there was no like hack. Yeah.
I know that's not.
Do these 3 things and you'll be like a social media superstar.
Yeah,
no.
It's a journey. I think that's the thing. There is no overnight success in terms of making businesses or recruitment consultants famous. That doesn't exist.
Why do you think there's so much of a desire for this kind of like, I want to go viral? Because I'll say this from experience. We hired our first ever social media kind of person on an apprenticeship because I wanted to trial the concept of it, right? And my business partner was just no, sales, and I'm like, look, let's give it a go, right? Interviewed a handful of people, met this girl who was exactly the kind of creative sort of soul that I was looking for. She's managing her own sort of social channels, and she started her own little page, and she was doing stuff for her boyfriend's band. And I was like, yeah, you've got the right kind of thing up here. And she produced some really funny stuff and some really kind of the first sort of, I would say, 10 TikToks that she put out. We were getting inbound inquiries from people wanting to work for us because they were like, oh, I've seen your stuff, it's hilarious. Oh my God, I didn't realize how fun your office was. Yeah, if you're ever hiring, give me a shout, that kind of thing. And then clients started seeing it and stuff like that. And he used to say to her all the time, Gina, make a viral video. And I just like, what is that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, where do you think that sort of desire comes from?
I think because people have the perception that is free marketing. And the exposure is huge, and it's a silver bullet. They don't exist. Especially in the recruitment space, you've got the 3 C's, we call it: client, candidate, and colleague marketing. What you mentioned is EVP, so colleague marketing. That takes an awful long time to build up, because a few TikToks, then when you're looking on, Glassdoor or other reviews and you're a crap employer, no one's going to come and work or apply anyway. So it's about making sure that whatever whatever you put out there is authentic and not a tick box exercise. And also I would challenge businesses on, when they want to invest in social and you just about convince a business partner or whoever to invest, and then it's an apprentice level or a grad level or, a very inexperienced, but they've got social themselves, therefore they're a genius and they'll make us famous. There's such a misconception of what that is, and the huge responsibility on those individuals who are not experienced enough to be able to really grow in a B2B marketing
or even
effort.
Understand why it worked in the first place, right? So say something did do incredibly well. They haven't got the knowledge, the experience, and the understanding to be able to be like, oh, I know what happened here. And so I can replicate that, okay.
And what the metrics of success were. So it went viral. So what? So what? What did it do for the business? And how can that be replicated?
It
often can't.
Right, let's talk about social media platforms and kind of how you rank them on a B2B kind of for B2B purposes, right? So the obvious one is LinkedIn. Every recruitment business, I feel, needs to be on LinkedIn. Yeah, cool. So we're aligned there. Facebook.
Everything apart from LinkedIn for me is EVP, is colleagues marketing.
Really? Interesting. Okay.
From our experience from over 2 decades, and this is our 8th year for Marmalade Marketing, B2B is centralized around LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is not just broadcast, paid for, and. SEO has an undertone of, there's a different level of interaction with all of that. But certainly any other channel we find, and of course, depending on what market and what you're trying to achieve.
Let's go recruitment, because really most of our customers or most of our listeners are going to be recruitment. Right? So if I'm a recruitment business owner, should I be looking at not running ads on Facebook, but do I even bother posting and trying to grow my Facebook following?
We know some businesses who have success in that because of the type of roles and locations and.
Okay.
But in the main, 90% plus is EVP only, and it's broadcasting all the fun stuff, and that's where all of that is housed. That's then through API lands on your careers page or your work for us page or whatever. So you're amplifying again that content. But certainly for B2B generation, it's not the channel.
Interesting. And do you feel the same about YouTube and TikTok as well?
TikTok, I'm for B2B, absolutely not. In my view, for the clients that we work with, I think we've seen lots of testing, and this is based on years worth of testing and analysis. There's so many other streams you can spend your money and time and attention.
Such as SEO, for example. So you talked about AI earlier, and the way a lot of this SEO is so neglected. What you were mentioning earlier about
people selling a service like that and actually not delivering, and then companies feeling burned and left feeling, well, why did I spend X thousands of pounds on boggle? It's become harder to be able to rank highly in search engine results because we operate in an incredibly complex and competitive marketplace. However, if done properly, working with the right developer, with the right fundamental structure to sites, I think SEO, even in the world we're going to live in with different types of AI search engine results pages with traditional SEO, but the way information will be served up, SEO will still be super important, and it will
arguably
amplify.
more important than the kind of video content that's out there at the minute.
Yeah, and you mentioned YouTube, or Vimeo is a tool we use for hosting video. I think podcasts, video content, having the one thing AI can't replace is the human voice and your story. Storytelling is ever more important. So that's why EVP will be, again, much more important on those secondary channels, I deem them, rather than LinkedIn for B2B as well. So I think SEO is something that has to be considered.
It's just not sexy, is it?
No,
From a non-marketing perspective, if you know, it sort of, it's that pain in the arse thing of like, oh, I've got to do what? No, I can't bother to do that, and then you outsource it, and it ends up going to the wrong person because you know you haven't allocated the right amount of budget, so you pick the wrong person, and then nothing comes off the back of it, and you're like, it's just more fun to make TikToks and YouTube videos, isn't it?
Yeah,
and I think fundamentally, when you kind of break it all apart, that's sort of the business owner, by and large, is a person who wants to do the interesting, fun things.
Yeah.
And isn't asked about doing the boring stuff, even though the boring stuff might give him or her better results immediately. You know, because we're all human, and that's kind of how we kind of entertain any sort of subject that we take part in, right?
Yeah.
At what point do you think will be where the AI or AGI can take over kind of that gap in the SEO market? Because I feel like that's probably an example of an area or a sector within an industry where humans would much rather have a machine look at it than have another human look at it who is likely to be misselling you their service. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's two things in the short term. I think CMSs, content management systems, have inbuilt AI tools. So if, for example, an internal marketer, no matter how junior, is uploading a blog, the meta should be automatically generated, the H1, for example. If things like that are not done, I think you question your web developer on that. And also making sure that GA4 is set up. So business owners, what you were mentioning earlier, the top three things they can do. Yeah, data's boring and data is what it is. We can't move away from it. And as a leader of a business, it aids your decision making.
Yeah.
So if you can see what's performing, then you, of course, will invest more in it.
Yeah.
You know, it goes without saying. But how many recruitment business owners or leaders can honestly say they look at their data every month and make business decisions based on it? Very few, in my view. From a sales perspective, bang on, absolutely. But from a marketing performance perspective, very rarely.
Fair. Cool. Okay. I think that about nearly wraps us up, unless there's any closing comments or anything you want to sort of talk about that we haven't covered.
Just that Marmalade Marketing is an award-winning.
Oh, I will give you a chance to plug your shit,
business.
don't worry.
Yeah.
No, but yes, yeah. There's going to be people out there that will be like, oh, wow, okay, she knows the stuff, I need to be dealing with that. So how do they reach out to you?
So they reach out on LinkedIn, Jo Perrotta, Marmalade Marketing.
But you only connect with people that you know or have done business with, so they're just going to get ignored, aren't they?
I might ignore them.
Gotcha.
I might not. I might not.
If
they
you
can
have
follow us on our
executive
company
CEO
page.
or like some level of importance in your job title, reach out.
Follow
if
us.
not, get someone else to do it.
Send us. You can book a meeting in my diary if you should so wish. If you visit our website,
Which is
marmalademarketing.co.uk. we host lots of sessions and podcasts ourselves.
Excellent.
On educating the industry about where it's going, how to embrace, this next phase of recruitment marketing. And I think...
What's the podcast called?
So it's Growth Bites.
It's Growth Bites.
Growth Bites by Jo Perrotta. It is available on Apple Podcast and...
You can talk.
Spotify and Spotify.
Anywhere where good podcasts are found.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Good.
So reach out to us.
Brilliant. Look, thank you very much for taking the time to come on today.
Welcome.
And we'd love to have you back again once kind of the AI world has moved a bit forward, and you can come back and go, fucking told you.
Yeah, and then I'll give you more secret sauce that next time, because we're finding our feet with it. We've been bold making these business decisions more recently.
She's like, I know things that no one really knows.
And we will share a bit more.
Yeah. Get yourself a farm. Get yourself guns.
Look after our clients
It's
first.
happening. Yeah. Why marmalade? That's what I was going to ask you. I had that in the back of my head. I was like, come back to that. And I didn't. Why marmalade?
Why marmalade? So I'd love to say it was an incredible branding project, of which we run lots of branding projects for our clients. But I had 2 young kids at the time when I started the business.
One you liked and one you didn't like.
Yeah,
like,
always. Always.
It would have been Marmite then.
Marmite. So not marmalade. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
And I thought I wanted a business name that was memorable, and I just love breakfast food. It's my thing, always has been. Love meetings over breakfast and coffee. And I thought I wanted it to be something food related. So I opened my fridge, and my kids had bought me, I think for Mother's Day, a lavender marmalade. And I thought, Marmalade Marketing, there's a ring to that. I really like that. So that's how it came about.
So if they'd have bought your jam...
there's already a jam.
Is there already a jam? Right.
Yeah.
We've got a whole condiments marketing.
Could have been mustard
Ketchup
marketing,
marketing.
ketchup, could have been anything.
Brown sauce marketing.
Yeah.
It
I
could.
don't think that would work as well.
Yeah, exactly. So Marmalade
Amazing.
Marketing was born.
There you go. And then you just stuck with it because you're like, it's too late to change now.
I did. And
I've got my first few clients.
Exactly, I did. And then I thought, for years, I'd go to expos and it would be a sea of green and blue and corporate, like we're banking, and we're not. We're fun, and it's a brilliant blue industry, and very rarely would anyone stand out. So the first corporate colour was a blush pink, and we stood out like a sore thumb in a good way. And then we've just done our own rebrand project in autumn last year, so we're really chuffed with it.
Cool.
Mind if I ask you a question? About, you just mentioned about like rebranding.
Yeah.
Do you ever think there's a time that's like too late to rebrand? Like if your brand's like not in exactly where you want it, but it's quite strong and it's got like a decent brand awareness. Is there a tough time where it's like, what are the factors you consider before you're doing that, like a real sort of like quite intensive rebrand?
Yeah.
What would you think about?
I think it's on a scale, from absolute, we call it brand evolution or revolution. So if it's this revolution, it's if you're trying to run away from something, if you're trying to create a new identity because it's all gone wrong, there's that side, which has different considerations to what we call the evolution would be a glow up. So it's just aligning parent and child brands. So your umbrella brand and then your sub brands within it. So we love working on projects like that. I think often it's somewhere in the middle, not trying to run away from anything, but companies want to really represent how they've grown or emerged in new markets or territories, and they're stuck in the past.
And opening a new one, that kind of thing.
So we love working on those projects. That's a personal passion of mine.
There you go. So if people are looking for a rebrand,
Indeed.
Marmalade Marketing.
Yep.
Excellent. Look, thank you so much. This has been really fun.
You're welcome. Thank you.